What's up, everybody? We are live. MCEO Talk, episode 1, or maybe was this an April Fool's joke that we were actually going to start on time? So really, the talk was starting at 6:15. The April Fool's joke was that it was at 6 o'clock. Otherwise known as we had a little bit of technology issues, a little bit of millennial problems, and the fact that our organization required us to be unorganized. But I'm Brian Fanzo, known as iSocial Fans on the Twitters. One of the partners behind the scenes on millennialceo.com, and joined as always on pretty much everything I'm doing with my partner at Broad Sweep Media Group behind the scenes on Millennial CEO, Daniel Newman. How are you doing today, Daniel?
What's up, everybody? We are live. MCEO Talk, episode 1. Or maybe was this an April Fool's joke?
All right, Daniel, it's on you, boss. Are you on mute?
I am not on mute. I just stopped talking because I was hearing myself play back because technology is not our friend today. I think this should be called Baby Boomer Talk. First time ever using Hangouts Talk is what we need to call this show.
Yeah, okay.
Probably more like it.
But we got a great panel tonight, and I think, Brian, you and I, as the partners and founders of Broad Sweep Media Group and Millennial CEO, need to turn the mic over because you and I have controlled show after show after show. And one of the big things about this chat and our passion about millennial mindsets is actually starting to bring the new talent in, bringing in new voices behind our audience. And that was part of the inspiration here. So y'all, I can see, are looking at Mr. Vincenzo Landino, Meerkat Wonder. Hashtag Meerkat.
Hashtag Meerkat.
And Brian and myself and Rachel, who could not be here tonight because she took a long-needed vacation, are very pleased to have handed the reins to Mr. Meerkat himself, Vincenzo Landino. So he's going to be our host, moderator, talent generator, and friend and family to Millennial CEO. So welcome. And from this time out, this job is yours. So Brian and I kicked it off this time. Next time, it's all on you. So welcome aboard and welcome to this great panel. And thanks for everybody, at least on behalf of myself and Brian and Millennial CEO, for being here. So, Vinny, the reins are yours.
Wow. Well, that was an interesting introduction. What is that, Brian? What are you doing?
I'm rocking No Kid Hungry glasses, but I figured it's a good way for me to go incognito with handing them over to you. So give the crowd a background on who you are, and then let's let our panelists intro themselves for sure.
All right, well, my name is Vincenzo Landino, at Vincenzo Landino on the Twitters. I steal that one from Brian. But I am a social media strategist and overall social media, I'm everywhere. Chat guy, podcasts, wherever you want me to be, I'll be. And I love Meerkat, so I'm going to rep hashtag Meerkat. Make sure you guys tweet that out as I'm saying it. So I'm joined tonight by some interesting panelists, millennial panelists. Let's introduce yourself, starting with Ginny, and we'll just go left to right, or right to left.
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Ginny Torok. I live in Austin. I'm a social media strategist. I work with a company called Tracker. It's an influencer marketing platform. And let's see. We were just talking about the song Meet Virginia because my full name is Virginia. I made that public knowledge today. So I also coined a term, centennial name, Millennial Mindset.
Love it. Love it.
I love it. And my daughter's middle name is Virginia, so my daughter's middle name is Virginia. That works well.
Virginia, have you seen Vincenzo karaoke?
No,
You should do it. You should do Meet Virginia.
Well, if we got to start on time, I would have done Meet Virginia just for Virginia, but I will
do it. How about the outro? How about the outro? All right, let's let these other guys introduce themselves.
Go ahead. Who we got next here? Los.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Carlos Gill here, coming at you from San Francisco, California, which is home to me now. I am a Floridian that's been transplanted here in San Fran. Just recently started working for LinkedIn, where I'm a senior social media marketing manager. You can also find me on the Twitters at CarlosGill83. And, just really excited to be here. I'm all about that hashtag real talk. So I look forward to bringing it over the next hour with you guys.
And thank you, Carlos. Last but not least, we have Aseem over here. Is your microphone working over there now?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect, awesome. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Aseem Badshah, founder and CEO of Socito. Coming to you live from Seattle, Washington, Aseem B on the Twitters.
Whoa.
platform. Can you guys hear me again?
Yeah, we can.
Somebody's muting me, you guys. Who's doing it?
That's Fanzo. He wants to do all the talking.
Testing technology.
No worries, no worries. So Cito is basically an automated social media lead generation platform. That's where I spend most of my time. But I also founded a social media marketing agency in LA called Uptown Treehouse. So running the show at both of those and having a lot of fun doing it.
Nice. Well, welcome to our first MCEO chat, and thank you for bearing with us. We'd love to have you guys answer some questions tonight. We have about 5 questions that we planned, but wherever the conversation takes us, we're going to go with it. So let's start off with our first question, and really, what is the term millennial mindset? What does that mean to you guys? And we could take it with whoever wants to jump in first.
Not Brian. Come on.
Not Brian. Brian's not allowed.
Let's let Ginny go first. Ladies first.
Ladies first. Let's go. Let's do it.
All right, sure, I can go first. I think it's, first of all, pretty funny that you're saying wherever the conversation takes us, because I think that's one thing that.
Yeah, that's a good time to have it freeze.
Of course.
Come back soon, Ginny.
All right.
This is a very millennial-friendly technology here, is it?
She's back. She's back.
Go ahead, Carlos. Take it away while we're waiting.
Yeah, you know what? I make that connection with millennial mindset. Kind of goes back to the old school phrase, you're only as old or as young as you feel, right? That's really how I look at it. Millennial is not necessarily defined by the age that you were born. I know it's something that Brian says a lot. I think that's really just spot on. It's not when you were born. It's really how you act. How you carry yourself. Are you are you someone that evolves with the times? And that's really how I go ahead and look at it. I know people personally. Like my dad, for example, he's well in his 60s, but sometimes he acts younger than I do. So I think age is only a number, like you heard many times before. And millennial mindset, again, at the end of the day, it's more than just the age that you are or the year that you were born in.
All right, we'll give Ginny a chance again to answer the question. Thanks, Carlos.
Geez, sorry, guys. So what I was going to say is, I actually have a visual aid for this. It's my header in my Twitter, on my Twitter page. So if you have Twitter open, you can check that out for my visual aid. It's a Venn diagram. And I think, to me, millennial mindset means, like Carlos was saying, it's not about when you were born. I think it's more about this mindset of always working towards the center square in this visual aid, which is your purpose. So finding something that you're paid for, obviously, because it's your job, something that you're great at, something that you love, and something that makes the world better. And maybe you haven't found it yet, but you're always working towards it. And I think millennials are really driven by purpose, pretty much in everything we do, and especially in our work life.
Nice. And last, Aseem.
Well, I mean, I think in a lot of cases what we're doing right now encapsulates the millennial mindset. Adopting new technologies, trying new things every single day. I think it's really a mindset of questioning the status quo, always being ready to kind of try things a different way and take a new lens on it. I think technology ubiquity has a lot to do with this, right? As millennials, we've kind of all grown up in an age of fast-paced technology, being really able to have a lot of influence on the internet. And I think that really encapsulates the mindset of kind of being fast-paced, taking advantage of technology and not taking no for an answer, and always questioning the status quo.
Yeah, I think those are all really good answers, and I know the best answer, or my favorite answer, is going to come from my boy Fanzo, because he's given this answer. He's practiced it. He's got a lot of practice answering the millennial mindset. I tell a story when people ask me this question all the time, and I say, what defines a millennial mindset? And it's always this. People like to say millennials are lazy and millennials are going to live in their parents' basements forever and they don't work as hard as generations before them. And I always say there's a more simple approach to answer that question. See, millennials, what happens is our parents come to us and they say, you don't work hard. And I say, but that's okay. See, we don't think that it requires 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day of effort to drive into results. So the story I always have is what we're looking for is doing things the best way, the optimal way. And that's whether it's using technology or embracing community. It's not always about, the amount of perceived effort. It's about the results we generate, the relationships we build, and how we do it while being able to manage more time, more relationships, and accomplish better things.
That's a great answer. Brian, do you want to add a little bit to it, or have you spoken enough on this topic?
No, I like all of the variety of answers, and I think that's part of it. You know, for me, I wear being a millennial as a badge. I'm proud of the year I'm born, but you know, I always caveat a millennial as I owned a pager at one day, right? How many of you guys owned a pager, right? So, you know, I think the range of a millennial when we're talking about the dates born, you know, 1980 to 2000 or whatever the exact generalization is, I think one of the big things for millennials is, and just like everybody, nobody likes being labeled, right? I mean, like that's just something that we don't like today. And you know, I've met plenty of people that look at the millennial concept and say, "Hey, I want everything that millennials want." And I think that's what we have to remember is that this whole millennial mindset, the reason that it's not just people that are born in a certain year is that what we're fighting for is the same things, or what we believe in are the same things everybody wants: open collaboration, working together. And so for me, it's about embracing change. And I think the rate and speed of change that's happening today is like no other year beforehand. And there's millennials that I've ran into that are 60 years old that can teach me stuff about technology, and there's millennials that are 22 years old that have never heard of Snapchat. So I think that the idea of this millennial mindset is this ability to embrace change and look at everybody together. And you know, I think of it as we are greater than me. So the more of us that are together working on good stuff is awesome. So that's why I love all these answers. I think everybody kind of hit each individual piece of what it means to kind of drive change.
And I'll add one last piece to that. Go ahead, Newman.
No, I was saying I added a little comedy to the Twitter stream, and I just wanted to brag about it. I said, I'm okay, Brian, with being labeled as long as it's as brilliant or as hot. But anything else, right? Anything else, or bald, I'm okay with that one too. No, I think that's a great point, though. I just want to say he made a great point about the labels, because that's one of the biggest fights I always see about people talking is, why do we have to label everything? And that's the difference between being a millennial and having a millennial mindset. Millennial mindset says it doesn't matter when you're born. We can put a label on the community you want to be involved in.
And I was gonna tag along on Brian's comment, and just to wrap up this question, but because we've always done it that way, you know, how many of us have heard that before? Because we've always done it this way. Why change? And really, that's what millennials tend or want to break out of, is getting away from we've done it that way. Change, like Brian said. So really, not accepting that and moving towards you know, an environment of change is where the millennial mindset's at, for me at least.
So, yeah, I want to add something to that though, Vin, because I've had this conversation with my parents throughout the years. You know, they've always said, growing up, you know, oh, in my day, this is how we did it. You know, your generation this, your generation doesn't know how easy they have it. Like, I disagree with those statements. Like, our generation, while we have technology, it's also pretty damn competitive out there. I think we can all agree. You know what I mean? Like, we are the hustle generation. Like, forget millennial, you know, or Gen Y. We're the hustle generation. Like, we're the generation that has access to all this technology, which what it does is it makes you work that much harder for what it is that you have. And I kind of throw it back on the baby boomers like my dad or, you know, my mom out there, and let them know, you know, our generation, while we are empowered, yes, there's also a lot more of us out there. So that's just kind of how I throw it back on the older folks, if you will.
So I guess really what we're saying off of what Newman was kind of discussing is that, yeah, we may seem like we're not working as hard, but we're actually working harder. I mean, multitasking. I mean, which one of us here doesn't multitask on a daily? How many tabs do you have open right now on your screen, even though you're supposed to be watching this? You know, like
wait, you're doing other things?
I know Jean's got like 15 tabs open. I mean, that's
why her computer crashed. Actually, she was launching a YouTube video on like another earbud.
Right, probably.
But you know,
go ahead, Brian.
On the same point, Carlos, though, I mean, I think we have to be careful by saying the older generation or the older people, because I think it's a different than just the older generation. I think the older generations worked hard. They just worked differently. And I think, you know, is it the Bob Dylan quote where, you know, it says, you know, it's something about the concept of, you know, don't hate what you don't understand or aren't willing to learn. right? And I think that's partially what this conversation is about is, just because you don't understand this, I'll segue this into social selling, but, the old school way was, my dad's one of the best salesmen I ever known in my entire life, and he did all of his business on the golf course. Well, that was with a foursome of people, right? And now we're able to use things like social media and do our business with a global reach. And I think it's a little bit about educating the ability to do that. And I think it doesn't matter what year someone was born or how old they are. If they are open to change, and I talk about reverse mentorship and all of those things, but if they're open to change and learning new things, they're part of the millennial mindset. But if they look at it and say, you generation, you guys are lucky, you guys don't, those are the people that are throwing stones without willing to learn how we're doing things. I think that's the difference, the caveats between the two.
So I think this conversation segueing into really our next question. What does it mean then to be a lead for a leader to be a millennial, or what does it mean to be a leader for a millennial?
So can I just go on record though, as this is only the second question Vincenzo's had to do, and he already went with a segue. I mean, that's impressive. It took me like 27 social selling hours till I segued between questions. Kudos, well done.
It was a perfect segue. We just dropped it right in there. So really, let's talk a little bit about leadership and what does it mean to be a leader?
Well, leadership for Brian and I was the first 15 episodes of Smack Talk when we would try not to be like, and Brian, what do you think about this? As we would go back and forth because we had no idea how to actually go, in between a conversation just naturally. So congrats, like I said, onto that. So let's let the three panelists go because
go for it. No one wants to hear you anymore, Newman.
I can jump in on this. I think a lot of this has to do with what we were just talking about in terms of a mindset of not listening to the status quo, not really knowing the right way or the old way to do things. I think you have to kind of take the same approach with leadership. I think for a millennial leader, it's really a bottom-up approach, right? You surround yourself with a great team. It's a very much collaborative. It's not really, hey, you're the manager, you're the leader, and your word kind of goes, because at the end of the day, we've all been used to this mindset of we don't know the old way of doing things. We don't know the right way of doing things. We're all kind of figuring this out from a blank page together. And to me, that really kind of feels like bottom-up leadership, right? It's how do you get a team to collaborate, give your ideas, and create a safe zone where any idea can be correct, can be looked at, because, again, there is no right way to do things. There is no status quo. I think that same mindset has got to be brought to the leadership perspective, which in a lot of cases can be hard, right? I mean, in some cases, the Silicon Valley leader that we all paint the picture of is the dude with a vision and everybody else just kind of gets on board and does what they want to do. But I think for the millennials, that's really a different mindset that we have to take.
Yeah. Carlos,
I attribute the good qualities of a leader as someone that inspires you. Someone that not only talks the talk, but they walk the walk. They're not afraid. I roll up my sleeves at work. I go to work like this every day. I don't know if you guys can see it, because that's how I can just say, when I was interviewing at LinkedIn, anywhere I've interviewed, that's how I describe myself. And that's why I look at people that lead me or that I look up to as leaders. Someone that's not afraid to roll up their sleeves and work, right? Not someone that's just going to delegate and say, this is what you need to do because I'm a boss. I think, again, going back to the millennial mindset, it's not about job titles anymore. It's not about how much you get paid. It's not about rank. It's really about how many people can you influence out there? How many people are following your lead? No pun intended. So, I can tell you just as someone who, admires and looks up to people from Donald Trump to Gary Vaynerchuk to LeBron James. These are people that I really look at as leaders because they make everyone around them better. And in cases like the Trumps and the Garys out there, they make a lot of people that look up to them a lot better. And they're influential, not only because they have a lot of followers out there in social media, but because through their hustle, through their game, they inspire people like us to do exactly what we do every single day.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was thinking as well. I think the term leader has changed a lot in the millennial mindset because it's no longer about you're the boss of how many people. It's more about being influential. And I work for an influencer marketing platform, so I work with these influential leaders every day. And I think the way that they get there is by earning the respect of their peers and of their followers. It's not about follower count, but it's about how many people are listening to you and how many people look up to you. And I think they get there by being really passionate about something and by finding their purpose and by really dedicating everything that they can to it. And I know none of the marketing influencers that I work with every day are like, oh yeah, I kind of like my job. I kind of like doing marketing. I get paid for it. They're super passionate about it. It's their purpose. So I think leadership now is more kind of a byproduct of passion and purpose, and not necessarily about job title.
Yeah, if I can interject, I'm actually going to, I'm not going to counter you guys, but I'm going to give a little different opinion. And since I wrote the book, Millennial CEO, I get to be right about all this stuff. You like that plug? You like how I did that? It was totally natural, too.
Yeah, not forced at all.
Here's the thing: is I don't think leadership has changed. I actually don't think leadership has changed at all. I think the fact is people are starting to understand what leadership always was and always should be. Leadership was always about, you know, taking others and getting them to follow you because they understand and they believe in your mission and they're going along with you. They're going on your team, right? All the conversations that many of us have had behind the scenes conversation about what leadership means. Leadership is very rarely ever been about do this because I say so. That's always been that caveat between management and leadership. What millennials do is they understand things like Brian and I passionately talk about flexible work. We understand that different things motivate different people, and you need to understand what motivates your people and leverage things like technology, leverage things like communities and stuff to actually help give employees or give your teams something to get behind. Because that's been the biggest problem is historically, like our parents and these generations before us, they went to work for certain hours, right? Sun up to sundown. And now what we're starting to see is what inspires people and how can we build an enterprise that allows us to put them in the best position to be inspired, and tech enables us, and us as millennials can take advantage of that. But fundamentally, I do not think leadership has actually changed at all. I think it's always been the same. It's just how we do it is different because of these platforms and technologies.
Yeah, that's a good question. You got a lot of people, I'm noticing, you got a lot of people are agreeing with you too, Newman. Leadership hasn't changed, and really, you know, lead by example. What do you guys think about this? Malia wrote on our Twitter portion of this: leaders emerge, aren't appointed. Encourage via reward and positive reinforcement.
That's I think to Ginny's point. Labels might make you a manager, but they sure as hell don't make you a leader. And I think that's something that we believe in, right? And so, for me, when you have a great team around you, the task actually just dictates who the leader is, not the name placard on some stupid person's desk that, was the old way of thinking. And I think that's just it's a different element of trust, right? We do believe in the power of collaboration. And, it requires you to check your ego at the door, check your paycheck at the door. I don't care who has the most, who's getting paid the most in my collaborative group. I care about who is going to lead us the best to accomplish this goal. And because change is so rapid and because we're in this real-time environment, that to us is just, hey, step up if you're the best for this position. And I think that's kind of this new way. So I agree, the idea of leadership hasn't changed. We just don't assume because someone has a title or a role or a management title that they are naturally a leader, which I think was kind of an old way of thinking of it based on what that said on their name tag.
So then along those lines, really, and this is a question to everybody, but how important is being a leader then to a millennial in terms of career path? So
I think it's critical. I think it's critical. I think this is something for the Twitters out there to quote. I think job titles are overrated nowadays, and they really are. And what I mean by that is that your job title doesn't define your work. What you bring every single day, the passion, the enthusiasm, the culture that you immerse yourself in, that's really what people are going to remember you by. Each job that you go to and everywhere that you go. And I think for millennials, what's really important is being in a culture that really allows them to thrive. And for them to be a leader is for them to be able to go ahead and feel like they're really contributing to their organization. I know for me, just speaking for myself, I don't like working at jobs where I feel like I'm not being valued, where I'm not helping those around me improve their game. And again, that's where I think, my mindset's at as a leader, and what I look for in others, whether ones that lead me or other leaders within an organization, is the same. It goes back to how many people can you influence? How many people can you convince to go ahead and do what's right for the organization?
Yeah, and I would say there's a great quote I heard about public speaking, and there's some really good speakers on this panel, people that do it for a living, but that really translate to leadership very well. And the quote said something like this, is that when people go to the events and they listen to you talk, very rarely do they come away remembering the things you said, but they will always remember the way you made them feel. And I think that's a very good quote about how leadership works too, is people want people to lead them that make them feel inspired, that make them feel a common mission, that make them feel like they can believe in what it is you're doing. A lot of leaders get focused in the tactics, the management, the reporting, the data, they want all that stuff. And what they realize is that has nothing to do with leadership. Leadership is when you go home from work, when you punch the clock at the end of the day, did you go home and say, I'm really excited about my life and excited about what I do? Or do you go home and say, God damn, another day of this shit? Mm-hmm. And if that's the way you as a manager or a leader make people feel, then you're not really leading anybody.
I mean, I think this is super important, right? And I think it's something that honestly a lot of people in our generation they don't give themselves enough credit for, right? I think that it's natural to kind of take a little bit of a back seat, right? You've got other people who might be more experienced around you, other people who are in your management, and as a result, you as a millennial kind of are taking orders, right? You're waiting for somebody else to give you direction. You're not willing to really step up. And I think that's something that a lot of people kind of shoot themselves in the foot about, because at the end of the day, the millennial experience actually gives you a huge advantage. The fact that we've been, growing up in an environment of technology, ubiquity, and we know these, channels better than others. We know these tools better than others. That's an advantage, and that's something that I think I learned very early in my career. Hey, the fact that I was a millennial was actually an advantage when talking to big companies, working with big companies around social media, around these new channels. It's a huge advantage, and millennials really sell themselves short on this one. So I think we've got to be a little bit better at taking that leadership role and just stepping up, proposing things, talking like this topic much better than the peers around you, because your age really doesn't matter that much anymore. The fact that you're a little bit younger and you have a different perspective on the world is a huge advantage, and we just don't use it enough.
No, I love that, and I think to add on that, just think about it this way. I think of the word experience used to be quantified in years, and I think today we have to rethink that. Experience no longer saying that you have experience in something doesn't mean that you've been working in it for years, because a lot of times the technology we're dealing with isn't even years old. So being experienced just means the right person for the job. And so I think beforehand it was like, hey, I wanna go with the most experienced person. I worked at UPS. In the union, it was 12 years of work. It wasn't the person that had the best year who was doing the best work today. It was who has worked there for 12 years got promoted. And now, imagine that. That's just a different way of thinking of it. I think, Zuckerberg's the proof of that, right? But there's also the element where I think this generation, this leadership, we want to learn and be mentored by people that have 15 years of business experience. But it's kind of like that give and take, and I think that's kind of plays into question 3 that I know Vinny wants to get into.
Yeah, we tweeted it, so we better.
No, question 3, question 4. You mean?
4, sorry.
We asked 3. Did we answer it?
We did. I said, how important is being a leader to a millennial when creating their career path? So you didn't even know. I was so smooth in the conversation.
Can I interject real quick?
Absolutely.
So Tiffany, who's a good friend, she tweeted, someone will talk to a C-level rather than a manager or director. And then she also disagreed with the statement I made before about job titles not mattering. She feels that your job title is what gets you in the door in several situations. And I want to say 2 things to that. One, in order to get to the CEO, you have to use nowadays the technology throughout the social selling process to get to them. So I think, again, that's why your hustle game, using social media, having that millennial mindset, that's why this matters more than anything. But again, the whole job title debate, at the end of the day, people want to be engaged. And if you know how to reach people, which again, social media, LinkedIn, it gives us that ability to actually connect with the right people. I think you'll find that once they see your passion, once they see really what you're all about, that job title is going to be really secondary to them. And actually what you'll find is people will open up to you when they see that you're going above and beyond what that traditional manager title actually is all about, and they really see and get to know your character.
Well, and that's so really, Carlos, that was great, because now we can talk about our question 4, but how does the millennial leadership style, how is it perceived by others in the workforce? And you know what, this is interesting too, because I think PricewaterhouseCoopers had a study that said that 50% of the workforce would be millennials by the year 2020. So there's a ton of millennials in the workforce, and many of them will be leaders in their respective brands, companies, wherever they are. How are they being perceived by other generations?
Yeah.
So that's Aseem. How would you jump in? Or Ginny? Ginny, go ahead.
Okay. I also got cut off like a minute ago too. I don't know what's going on with my technology. But I think I was also going to say to question number 3, kind of talking about this as well. I rub people the wrong way all the time when I talk about different generational mindsets. And I think what causes a lot of a rift between millennial leaders and other generations is a lot of misunderstanding. And I think people just naturally kind of shy away or don't like things that they don't understand. And I think it stems from a lot of things, but one of the things that I was thinking about is I graduated college in 2010, and everyone told me that I wasn't going to be able to find a job. So that kind of job security that used to be present was completely gone, and then I was forced to just really go after my passion and kind of find my purpose. But my dad always told me that you're not supposed to like your job. And he was always a boss at his company. And so I just think this type of leadership has kind of changed so much that I don't think he can, and other generations can quite understand some of the experiences that have happened since different generations that have molded the way that we think now, which some of the things I'm thinking about are like openness to change. And I think that's something that's made us really agile leaders. And I think that's a good quality about us. But I think that that's kind of misunderstood from other generations who maybe didn't go through the same type of job crisis that some of us did.
Well, and I mean, I also blame millennials, and maybe this will be the, I blame millennials for too often we blame the other generations for not understanding us, and we don't focus on teaching them. And I think that's on us as a generation that says, this culture isn't open. My manager doesn't get that my title, his title doesn't define him. I think that's part of this element where we have to teach it and we have to prove it. And too often people are like, hey, my employer doesn't trust me. Yet the first time that employee is trusted, they violate that trust. Well, no shit. That's why they don't trust you moving forward. So I think, as a millennial, I think we also have to take ownership for the idea that if we want change to happen, we have to teach it and lead it. We can't just complain about it not being there. And I think that's given us as a millennial a bad name for the sense of many of us are willing to roll up our sleeves, but at the same time, there's also millennials that are going to ride that to the point where they say they're going to use this as their scapegoat. And I think there's something that we as millennials must own, that if someone doesn't understand the importance of open collaboration, someone doesn't understand the importance of what we believe, let's teach them. Let's prove it with data. Let's prove it with making it happen. Let's not just complain that it doesn't exist.
Well, and what I've found, the biggest thing that I found is with millennials, and this is not every millennial, this is some millennials, but the moment they're met with some resistance, it's a shut-off. It's a wall. And I think that's where, again, Brian, to lend to your point, that's where other generations look at us as, well, they're elitist, they're stuck up, they can't handle direction, and that's what gives us that kind of, where we don't know what we're talking about because people don't think that we're coachable. And that, not all of us, again, either. And anyone can jump in and correct me, but I think that's a big problem as well.
I've faced that, man. I think our passion and our persistence is really misconstrued as being rebellious and being insubordinate. And I can't tell you throughout the course of the last 13 years of my career how many times I've been in an HR office because it's just totally misconstrued and taken out of context sometimes. And my route was different to get to where I'm at today. I didn't go to college, when I started my career. So I started my career at 19 years old. And talk about really being in a situation where throughout your career, you've always kind of been the youngest person in the class. You've always been the youngest person in the room. So one thing that I've been able to really balance and use to my advantage by being a millennial and being younger than others is I've always asked the other generations to help me, teach me. I've humbled myself to really learn from them. And again, I think it's worked. I think there's people at the end of the day, they're never going to go ahead and really totally buy in. They're not going to go all in on that hustle because that's not them. But you also have to know as a millennial that there has to be balance there, and there really, in order for there to be cohesiveness on teams with millennials and non-millennials, you really have to know how to balance the strengths of someone that's older and probably wiser and knows more than you, along with your energy and your enthusiasm and your passion.
Can I jump in? First of all, Vinny, is that a meerkat on your lap, or do you have a purse dog?
This is my dog.
Oh,
this is my dog.
So cute.
Okay. She's on my lap now.
So do millennials all carry purse dogs? Because you have a purse dog, and that's a question that we could ask. But the one thing that I thought we need to bring up here is the question is almost unfair to ask, and I think some of you can bring that. What is the perception of millennial leadership? Is very few millennials have actually really held leadership roles at this point. Most millennials, and again, like Brian and I are 15 days apart. We're born in the middle of 1981, and we're about the oldest millennials on the planet. Okay, and then some of you guys are younger millennials, but as a whole, the experience and the breadth of time we've spent managing and leading people, in most cases, is fairly short. Now, there's been a few millennials that have taken leadership roles or started companies, the Zuckerbergs of the world, but as a whole, I don't know that our leadership style has been defined yet. I don't know that there's a style that's being generalized as the entire generation. And I also think that collectively there's no generation before that you could just take leadership as a whole and say, this is how boomers lead. Like, my dad was a manager and a boss and a leader and a great businessman and a total a-hole at times. But the point is, like, I don't think every other guy that ever ran a company did it just like my dad. And I think this is one of the biggest problems with the millennial topic is, and why we're so passionate about millennial mindset versus generation, is because millennials, right, as a whole, do not all lead the same. And boomers and Xers and any other generation before or that comes next will not all lead the same. What I will say is we use more technology, we're more connected, we believe in a different balance of work and life, and I think realistically, we believe that there's so much more possible than punching a 9-to-5 clock. But other than that, I'd say there's very few things that you could really put on top of it and say this is a general classification of all millennials and how they lead. And now I'm going to breathe.
Let us see him say a little something here.
No, I agree with everything that's been said. I mean, I think that the things that I would add is that I do think there is a little bit of a perception from other generations that the millennial generation is a bit cavalier and a bit entitled, right? You kind of hear, hey, we've been given participation trophies and A's and B's, all the way through school, and that's just what we expect. And, I think there is a little bit of truth to that, right? And I think that we should all be honest with ourselves and realize that, outside of the schooling, you really do. You've got to fight for things, and I think the cavalier attitude can be helpful, but that's where we have to be empathetic with other generations. And I like what somebody else said around, learning from other generations is super, super key. And I think the one advantage that millennials have is that there's this innate curiosity in us, and that can really be advantageous when working with other generations, asking those questions, trying to learn from them, being empathetic to them. That innate curiosity comes from the fact that, we're thirsty for information, and information is all around us and so easy to access. But the viewpoint that other generations have can be supremely helpful. So, I think there is some truth in terms of what people perceive of the millennial generation, but I also think that those can be huge advantages, right? The fact that we were kind of giving support and we kind of have this attitude that we can do whatever we want to do, it's a great trait to take into your career, but you've got to stop and you kind of have to also make sure that you're being, kind of empathetic and curious to the other generations around you.
And that goes both directions too. So it's not just millennials being mindful of other generations and but other generations also have to be mindful of millennials as well. It has to be one big cohesive group. We have to coexist here. Let's face it. There's still other generations in the workforce. We haven't completely overtaken the workforce. So, I completely agree with everything you said there, Aseem. But what other challenges do you think millennials face in the workforce that maybe our parents didn't or other generations didn't have to face? And I'll start with Aseem on this one.
Well, I think it's an interesting question. I think that there is this kind of navigating the waters of we have a different set of knowledge, we have a different perspective on the world, and in a lot of cases we kind of have to prove it. But I don't think we're necessarily used to that, and so I think the challenge has to become can you find the proof for your ideas? Can you use all of this content that's around us that we've been pretty good about accessing this information? but can you actually put that on the table with your team, with your management, with the other generations around you, and kind of prove and say, hey, listen, this is the data behind why this idea is a good idea. This is why we should be thinking about this marketing activity or doing social selling or going down this path in terms of the business. I think we have a little bit more to prove, and I think we're not used to that, but I think that we have all of the skills and the ability to access the information that other generations don't. That makes it easier to prove some of the things that we want to do. So I think a lot of times it's just about making that connection, but it's a challenge that we've got to overcome.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So in the spirit of millennial mindset here, there's a comment from the Meerkat, and Katie Heads Design says millennials are more in this idea of embracing almost a 24/7 work environment and work mentality where it's not about 9 to 5. And Dan and I had this on a podcast, was like, who in the hell decided back in the day that I work best and am most productive 9 to 5 in a small cubicle stuffed next to someone that smells, right? Like that's not, who decided that? And I think this idea of trust and flexibility is not something that we are thinking that we need. We demand it, right? We demand that trust and that flexibility. And I mean, granted, sometimes we're going to fall on our face, and those are the people that set that back. But I think there's also this element of we have to teach change, we have to lead change, but we're also a generation. And I mean, everyone today that's working in the workforce worked when September 11th happened, worked when the internet boom crashed, or maybe we were in high school or college at that time, and then also worked in the idea where, people worked at jobs for 20 years and were laid off. That was what so to me, the idea, and I think, Jenny, you said it, your dad said that the job wasn't supposed to be something he enjoyed. I refuse to work somewhere that isn't somewhere that I plan on enjoying or isn't getting me towards something that I'm going to enjoy. And I think that's our mindset. We're no longer okay sitting around for 5 more years at something we hate to get a gold watch. That's not today's style of work.
And that's a conversation I just had with a friend of mine today, actually at Smart Suite, Bree Kelly. We were talking about this, and really it was like, why do we have so much side hustle going on? We all have 100 different things going on because we embrace the 24/7 work lifestyle. We want to work more. Technology has afforded us the opportunity to do more with our time. We can get more done in a day that other generations weren't able to do in a week. And I truly stand by that. Ginny had something to say, and I kind of cut in.
Oh, no, that's okay. But actually, now I just want to say something about what you just said. So I'm glad you said that. So I think I was talking to Brian about this. Yeah, I wrote a blog post on this. And Brian, I took a quote from you once about work-life balance. And I think just to kind of echo what you said, that we're kind of always on and we're always hustling, I think because we're passionate about what we do and because we've been kind of given the opportunity and because we've ran with the opportunity to find these jobs that we love and to find our purpose. Whereas like my dad, who hated his job every day, he needed to find a work-life balance. But for us, I think our work-life balance is kind of just all baked in together, and it's not as necessary. Like my dad needed to take an hour lunch break. He needed to get away. And so a lot of what people can't understand is I work through my lunch break, and I work pretty much all night long. And I like doing it. So I don't really know if that's answering any of the question, but just to kind of echo what you were saying.
When you love what you do, it's not work. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing is we do these events. We were in Barcelona, Spain, then went South by Southwest. We're talking about an event we're going to be doing in Shanghai, China later this year. And we work 24 hours a day. It's fun. It's life work. It's not work life. And that's what I constantly say. When it's, it's not my quote, but they always say, when you love what you do, it's not work, and that's really the bottom line of what we're going through here. I think that there's way too much emphasis on what's your job and what's your life, and I think now with technology, it's just intertwined. It's all blended in together. All the technology, all the work, the family. We just find ways to make it all work, and that's very millennial in mindset standpoint of that we kind of let all that stuff. Kind of bleed together.
Well, I mean, go ask any non-millennial born person and ask them, do they wish in their environment they had the ability to be their own marketer, their own salesperson, their own, best advocate. Ask them if they wanted to be trusted at work, if they wanted flexibility at work, if they wanted to be the ability to be working from home sometimes so that they could go to do their daughter's play. I don't think a single person says no. So to blame millennials for being this one that wants all this change, I mean, I think you have to almost shine the mirror back in the face and say, tell me which one of those things you don't want. Because my dad is the first one to say, man, Brian, if I had social media, because my dad actually talks more than I do, surprisingly enough. He's like, if I had social media, the breadth of what he was able to sell and do as his company would be astronomical. So he looks at it as like he wasn't enabled by this technology to tell his story, and we are. And I think that's something we have to embrace, age-wide.
We're beneficiaries of the technology and the enablement. And Aseem, I definitely want to let you jump. I said one last kind of last talking point here is that we are the generation that says if we can't find work we love, we build it. And there's like multiple examples on this actual, with Aseem finding Saucedo and the founders of Tracker and your team. I mean, you guys, this is built on entrepreneur. I mean, Brian and I, started with one company. Now we have two companies, and basically, like, even Brian came on to do one thing with me and build a company with me, and we're like, this isn't what he wants to do, and we started a whole nother company. We basically said, if it's not, the company's not here to work together, but we got the people that love it, we'll just build something else. And that's like very like kind of millennial mindset-ish, is like, if it's not there, just build it. Just build it.
And that's just what I was going to add as well, is that, the options are so open now, right? It doesn't have to be building a company. You can do anything that you love. And in today's world, being a millennial, you can build an audience, right? If you want to be a travel blogger, you can build an audience and become a travel blogger. This isn't, the time when you had to go work for the Travel Channel and get a job there, right? So you can literally now do anything that you love and have the opportunity to build an audience, because influence is democratized, and millennials know how to take advantage of that, which means that all of us can be entrepreneurs in our own right. It doesn't have to be building a business, but it makes our options so easy. And if you want to Airbnb your apartment out the entire time and then go travel, you have that option now, which just wasn't available before the millennial generation.
Carlos?
Love that. I mean, I think that's the key. I think that it summarizes it so well.
I think Carlos had one last thing to say there for that.
Carlos, you're on mute.
Carlos, you're on mute or something, buddy.
That's the best Carlos has sounded in days. What's up, buddy? Yeah, you're muted, brother. Can't hear you at all.
Perfect. So we got Carlos right where we wanted him.
Carlos,
right.
You need to get your mic back on, bro.
Well, so really everything we've said is we seem to all be in agreement here. Obviously there's a lot of work to be done on the millennial forefront, on the millennial front, where there's a lot of work we need to do in the workforce, and there's also a lot that we need to do to convince others of other generations that we are, I guess, worthy of what we're putting out there. So here's something a little fun, kind of a life hack that we're going to start here with Millennials MCEO Talk at the end of every episode. We're going to do a little life hack, hashtag life hack. So share one of your daily secrets for getting in the right millennial mindset, or the right mindset for success. Not even forget millennial mindset. This is just your mindset for success. What do you do every day to get your day started? And we'll start with Ginny.
Okay. I have an echo.
We're going to start with Brian.
Fanzo.
Yeah, I think that echoes.
Hold on. Here we go.
All right, so do we have? No, echo's still there. Wow, this is how we end it.
Perfect. What a perfect ending to a perfect beginning. Nothing.
All right, I think we're good. Oh, no, we're not.
Carlos, mute yours.
Mute Carlos.
I will. Can't mute Carlos.
Can't mute Carlos.
Carlos, drop out and come back in.
We can't hear Carlos, so I don't know.
I know.
Let
me see if it's me.
I'm not hearing it over here.
All right. Any echo?
Oh, yeah.
Shall I mute? Let me try muting.
How about now, guys? Yeah. So.
All right, Vinny, tee this up again.
All right, we're going to tee this up again. So last kind of question, a little life hack, hashtag life hack. I want everyone to quote this, so everyone out there watching this, everyone following us on our Twitter chat, hashtag life hack, and I want you to tweet out everybody's answers here, but share one daily secret that gets you into the right mindset for success. And we're going to start with our lady first, Ginny.
Okay, so I have a book recommendation, and I'm sorry, Daniel, it's not your book. I haven't read it yet. I don't have to read it. I would also recommend it, I'm sure. But my book recommendation that helps me, and I actually do kind of refer to it daily. If I don't read the book, I look up a quote. But it kind of helps me stay focused. It helps me not worry about criticism. It helps me always work towards my passion and things that I love doing. Anyway, the book is by Steven Pressfield, and it's called War of Art, if you've heard of it. And it's kind of about breaking down walls of resistance that may be resistance against yourself or outside forces, and being the best you can be.
So that's on everybody's reading list now. Everyone has to read that book if you haven't already. It's War of Art. Life hack, hashtag life hack. Carlos,
I'm sure Sun Tzu just loved that title, by the way.
Sure, Sun Tzu doesn't know the title.
You guys able to hear me now?
You're good, bud.
Can you hear me now? All right. So, for me, I'm a big hip-hop fan. And music, I think, has a great way of influencing how you feel. So every day on my way to work, I'll listen to some hip-hop on Sirius XM. And when I'm at my desk at work, I'll throw on my headphones. I'll listen to some hip-hop and some rap, and I feel great. For me, every day at work is my Game 7. And in order for me to go ahead and get in that mindset, like today I'm going to crush it, I'm going to do something amazing, it's really the music that I listen to that gets me going. And Gary Vaynerchuk, he's been a big inspiration, I know, for a lot of us out there. And anytime I'm having a bad day or I just need a little pick-me-up, I'll just go on YouTube, I'll look up a Gary Vaynerchuk keynote, I'll just go scroll to the middle of it, and he'll hype me up in 60 seconds or less. So, little interesting bit of real talk there.
Hashtag real talk.
Yeah, I'm only a little embarrassed for you, bro. No, I love it. I could see Carlos getting up in the morning and be like, "You gotta lose yourself in the music the moment." And he's getting himself all pumped up, like, I'm gonna link in with like 50 people today, and he's bobbing his head, and he knows he's gonna do it. No, I mean, dude, I totally agree. I'm totally a pump up music. I love what you're saying there because I do believe music inspires. I grew up played the piano from the time I was young, so I get behind.
Don't admit that, Newman.
There's nothing wrong with being a musician, man. There's nothing wrong with it. Playing the piano works a whole side of your brain that people that don't play never actually work. But on the other side, I'll make the meat-headed comment. So I make sure I work out at least 45 minutes to an hour every day. I find the time, I fit it in my calendar. It's a meeting. It's in my calendar like a meeting, and I fit it in every day. And that time, it's like a reset and a balance. It's just that 1 hour or 45 minutes that you basically give to yourself every day, and you invest in yourself. And I think when you feel good and you're healthy, the energy translates into your work.
Yeah, it's so true. Absolutely. Aseem.
Carlos, I rap to you, buddy. I actually sang to you. Aseem, man, your mic is jacked.
Is it really? Is it any better? Are you guys hearing me okay?
There you go.
Is that good?
Oh.
No? All right, let me try this.
You just need
How's that?
That sound. Go ahead. We'll let you talk.
All right, I'll go back on mute after this. For me, as a millennial entrepreneur, I think we always kind of hear about the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride of being an entrepreneur. I think as a millennial, because you haven't seen it before, the highs and the lows become even more pronounced in this generation. And so I think for me, really, really important is getting my mind right. And in the morning, that's doing a 20-minute workout, meditating for 10 minutes, taking that time to just close your eyes and watch your thoughts. It really centers you, and it helps get you through the highs and the lows. Otherwise, it's like you're constantly in this storm of things pushing you one way and the next way. It allows you to challenge yourself in the morning, which makes everything else during the day easier. So I definitely highly recommend it if you're not doing it already. In the morning, start your day with that. It's good.
I'll do it tomorrow morning just for you. Well, guys, I do appreciate it. Does anyone have any last points to add before we wrap up tonight? We went a little bit over.
Hey, I didn't drop my life hack there, Vinny. What's up?
Oh, you didn't drop your life hack. I'm sorry. Go ahead, steal the show, Fanzo.
Yeah, so mine's pretty easy. It's called Monster Energy Drink. So I drink a Monster in the morning. I drink one in the afternoon. I actually
sugar-free, right, Fanzo?
Yes. Yeah, I need to get sponsored by them. Shoot.
I know. I screenshot it. Don't worry.
There you go. So actually, that goes into my piece. So for me, I'm very blessed to have amazing daughters that are in my life, and so I'm lucky to take them to school in the morning. And so they're usually a good shot in the arm because they talk true real talk, right? So they always kind of just bring it. Kids keep it real. So I definitely don't change enough diapers. I'm lucky my wife handles that. But at the end of the day, I'm still no matter who I think I am on social media or in my job, changing a diaper kind of puts you back in the real world. But I think for me, one of my life hacks or way that I do it is I have that portfolio of awesomeness, which is that whole thing about screenshotting my wins. And if I need a motivation or a kick or something that reminds me, I like to look at goals, but I also like to look at, hey, where was I at a year ago? What did I think was a win a year ago? And what do I think is a win today? And so I kind of have a portfolio. I have a folder on my desktop. Well, now it's called Portfolio of Awesomeness, but it used to have a different name to it. And I kind of pull that open, scan through some stuff, and some of it's pictures, some of it's like my first time that I ever I met Ted Rubin the very first time. I got that picture. Little things like that allow me to to stay motivated, because I think it always helps to have the references of wins, because I think we are the selfie generation and we're not afraid to celebrate ourselves, but it's also kind of good because it keeps us motivated.
And I guess I'll have to give my life hack because I'm the last one here, but I usually jump in the shower and I sing. Does that surprise anyone?
On Meerkat?
Oh, yeah, I Meerkat in the shower and I sing karaoke. No, totally kidding.
Well, I think what's most appropriate is that we get Vincenzo to sing a little train on the way out, because I think tonight he just met Virginia, and that, in my opinion, is a very millennial thing to do to end a millennial mindset-focused chat. So I think you need to actually not only sing, Vincenzo, but you need to serenade a little bit.
Really? Okay, we're serenading, I guess. I'm serenading.
You need to turn on Meerkat first, because that's the other millennial thing to do.
All right, well.
Start a stream.
Keep talking while I'm doing this?
Yes.
This is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to me.
This is how we make a show different. This is why Millennial CEO and our shows are different than anyone else's, is because...
All right, I'm going to outro this.
The new outro. Vincenzo, clear your throat. Let's do this.
Meet Virginia, MCEO talk. This is really happening. I can't believe you guys are making me. This is kind of my initiation, I guess.
Or it's setting the bar for it every single time.
What's that?
I said, or maybe it's just setting the bar for it to happen every time. And you are on Meerkat in my world.
Oh, jeez, and I'm on Meerkat in my own world. I guess this is happening.
Now you always have to have a guest whose name is also a song.
Oh, I can find that, believe me.
She doesn't want dress. Her
Hair is always a mess.
Catch her stealing, she won't come
No
back.
words, hold on.
She's beautiful. Smokes a pack a day. You can wear that's me anyway.
She doesn't care a thing.
Hair.
She thinks I'm beautiful. I hate you, Newman. Virginia.
Keep going, man. It's not
I am. The song's going.
All right.
She
Never compromises. Loves babies and surprises.
wears high
High heels when she exercises.
ain't that beautiful? Meet Virginia.
Best show ever.
Well, she wants to be the queen. Then she thinks about her scene. Pulls her hair back like she screams. I don't really want to be a queen. Daddy wrestles alligators. Mama works on carburetors. Brother is a fine mediator. The president. Here she is again on the phone, just like me. Hey, alone. We just like to sit at home.
Rip on the president. What a great line, huh? Meet Virginia.
Go, and you're all over Periscope now.
Oh, I clearly.
And for anyone who's out there watching, this is how we will end. We will
Live her life. Then she thinks about her life. Pulls her head back. She screams. I don't really want to live this life.
Oh, my Twitter's blowing up. Thanks, guys.
Vincenzo Landino singing Train.
This is just for you.
Our very own Ginny Torok. Thankfully, the colors aren't that good on this camera, but you know what?
Stop talking.
You can stop, bro. I want to thank
I'm still going. I got like 2 minutes left.
All right, you do what you got to do. I think everybody's loving this, though.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I think we started exactly 15 minutes late, and we are ending exactly 15 minutes late. So I give a shout out to Vincenzo. Kudos, man. Good job hosting. Thanks, panelists.
Timing is quite unusual.
Did a very good job.
Confidence is tragic, but her intuition magic. In the shape of her body, usual. Meet Virginia.
Most of a chat that's gonna
Can't wait to meet Virginia. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, she wants to be the queen, and she thinks about her scene.
Hey,
Well,
are you still haircutting this?
to live her life.
Nice.
And she thinks about her life. Pulls her hair back as she screams.
Scream, Ginny.
I don't really want to be the queen. I don't really want to be the queen.
And the song continues. I don't really want to be a queen.
I don't really want to live this life.
Quickly before we wrap this, we gotta.
Wait, I officially hate you all.
Hey, we have to give a shout out to Kristen Cardos, rocking the Millennial CEO Twitter handle. She's the rock star behind SBizHour handle and Millennial CEO handle. Truly the best of the best community manager. We couldn't do this stuff without her.
Super fan.
Kristen, super fan here. Love you. Really appreciate it. The screen dropped off.
I want to thank all you as the guests that came on. We will see everybody here next week, right? millennialceo.com/MCEO talk. And this will be a weekly, and you will see Vincenzo, but you may not see the rest of us. But we really do appreciate the conversation on Millennial Mindset. So, Vincenzo, why don't you just take us?
Oh, Vincenzo's taking you home. All right. So, thank you, Carlos, Aseem, Ginny. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for co-hosting me tonight, Daniel and Brian. My name is Vincenzo Landino, at Vincenzo Landino on the Twitters. You can find me there every day. You will find me here every Wednesday night at 9. MCEO Talk. Have a great Wednesday.